afternoon, everybody. The galleries at the Tampa Museum of Art are transformed by 29 huge photographs of Havana taken by renowned Michael Eastman. The photographs are about 6 feet by nearly 7 feet tall. They're taken by Eastman during his 10 years plus of visits to the island. Famous for his rich colors and his resistance to digital technology, he captures all of his images on film. The exhibition in particular is the first time that audiences get to see such a large collection of these photos that he took during several trips to Havana, Cuba. Joining us with more in our studios, we welcome Executive Director of the museum, Mr. Todd Smith. It's always nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. So this is the view of Cuba today by this American photographer. What did he do? What's the image that he's saying?
Well, he started going there in 1999. He's been there 4 times since, and the most recent was in 2010. And if you've been to Havana, the architecture is just so striking. You know, like many major world capitals, it has that beautiful architecture. And he was struck by that. And he was struck by the sort of calmness of the architecture and the ways in which people interacted in the space. But when you look at the photographs, there are no people in them. So he captures the space just as the space exists.
And I think it's interesting that so many folks say, well, he's taking these great digital photographs. Well, he's not. He's very resistant to using
he still works with film. He still starts with film and then takes the negative, and on his computer, he will do what's called color desaturation, which means the exposure time he allows for these photographs is quite long. And so too much color and too much light gets into them when he takes the photograph. So when he goes in with his computer and Photoshop, he'll take some of the color out. So when they get sent to the printer, they're not overly saturated, even though when you see them in person, they are quite beautiful in their use of color.
It's interesting how some of the guests of the museum react to the photographs. You said that some have mistaken them for
they mistake them for paintings. Because they're so large and so rich in the color and in the subject matter, people will get very close to them and really won't know if it's a painting or a photograph. And of course they'll want to touch, and we ask that you don't, but because they want to see if there's a texture to them, and when they get up really close they recognize that no, and in fact it's just a beautiful camera image.
I have to say that my favorite one is the one where the rich green wall and you have the chandelier. Which one do most folks talk about when they go through the galleries?
There's a pair of photographs early on in the show that show the same room over a period of time. And he wants to make sure that the rooms are left exactly as they are. So there are little bits of garbage and sort of living experiences in these photographs. And you would expect that someone would have cleaned them up before, but no, in fact, he wanted them to be real. So you've got 2 different visions of this one room.
And this is, how big a deal is it to have a collection of photographs by Michael Eastman? Well, he's taken photos of cities around the globe.
He's extremely well known around the world for doing these images of, the show's called Elegance, and it's about cities that have fallen into hard times. And the architecture represents sort of a fading away of a grand glory. So he's done them in Paris and New Orleans. And so when you walk through the show, I think people get a sense of what life is currently like, but what it might have been like, and then you get a sense of what it could be like.
What was it like setting up the paintings? They're so huge. Tell us the specific size that
they're 6 by 7 feet, and so they take up a lot of space visually and physically. And when you experience the gallery, which I hope people do, you're overwhelmed by them and you feel like you're part of the architecture. And for us to be able to show them in a very contemporary space, and they're very not contemporary. It's a great juxtaposition.
It's a great contrast, yes. Thank you so much. It's always nice to see you. I'll see you at the museum again.
Good.
I love it there. Here's information on your screen about Faded Elegance. Folks, this is a beautiful exhibit. It's there through September the 15th, and for more details on the exhibit and a whole lot more going on at the museum, visit tampamuseum.org.